Hello everyone and welcome back to another One Bible One Year One Bible in 1 year. Today we are finishing Joshua. We are reading Joshua's chapter 21, 22, 23, and 24 to finish up the book of Joshua. Going a little bit further ahead, once we finish Joshua, if you did not already know, we are moving into Judges. So be ready for that for tomorrow and let's get started. Joshua chapter 21. Then the leaders of the tribe of Levi came to consult with Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, the leaders of the other tribes of Israel. They came to them at Sheol in the land of Canaan and said, "The Lord commanded Moses to give us towns to live in and pasture lands for our livestock. So by the command of the Lord, the people of Israel gave the Levites the following towns and pasture lands out of their own grants of land. The descendants of Aaron, who were members of the Kohathite clan within the tribe of Levi, were allotted 13 towns originally assigned to the tribes of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin. The other families of the Kohathite clan were allotted 10 towns from the tribes of Ephraim, Dan, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. The clan of Gershon was allotted 13 towns from the tribes of Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and half-a-tribe of Manasseh in Bashan. The clan of Merari was allotted 12 towns from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. So the Israelites obeyed the Lord's command to Moses and assigned these towns and pasture lands to the Levites by casting sacred lots. The Israelites gave the following towns from the tribes of Judah and Simeon to the descendants of Aaron, who were members of the Kohathite clan within the tribe of Levi. Since the sacred lot fell on to them first, Kiriath-arba, that is Hebron, in the hill country of Judah, along with the surrounding pasture lands, but the open fields, Arba with the ancestor of Anak, but the open fields beyond the town and the surrounding villages were given to Caleb son of Jephunneh as his possession. The following towns with their pasture lands were given to the descendants of Aaron the priest: Hebron, a city of refuge from those who accidentally killed someone; Libnah, Jatir, Eshtemoa, Holon, Debir, Ain, Judah, and Beth Shemesh. 9 towns of these two from these two tribes. From the tribes of Benjamin, the priests were given the following towns with their pasture lands: Gibeon, Gibeah, and Nathoth, and Almon, 4 towns. So in all, 13 towns with their pasture lands were given to the priests and the descendants of Aaron. The rest of the Kohathite clans from the tribe of Levi were allotted the following towns and pasture lands from the tribe of Ephraim: Semech in the hill country of Ephraim, a city of refuge for those who accidentally killed someone; Gezer, Kibzemi, and Beth Haran, 4 towns. The following towns and pasture lands were allotted to the priests from the tribe of Dan: Eltekeh, Gibeonathon, Aijalon, and Gath Rimon, 4 towns. The half-tribes of Manasseh allotted the following towns and with their pasture lands to the priests: Tanach and Gath Rimon, 2 towns. So in all, 10 towns with their pasture lands were given to the rest of the Kohathite clan. The descendants of Gershon, another clan within the tribe of Levi, received the following towns with their pasture lands: from the half-tribe of Manasseh, Golan in Bashan, a city of refuge for those who accidentally killed someone, and Be-Eshterash, 2 towns. From the tribe of Issachar, they received the following towns with their pasture lands: Kishion, Daberath, Jarmuth, and Gamim. 4 towns from the tribe of Asher. They received the following towns with their pasture lands: Meshal, Adaban, Helekath, and Rebob. 4 towns. The tribe of Naphtali. From the tribe of Naphtali, they received the following towns with their pasture lands: Kadesh in Galilee, a city of refuge for those who accidentally killed someone; Hamamoth Dor, and Kartan. 3 towns. So in all, 13 towns with their pasture lands were allotted to the clans of Gershon. The rest of the Levites, the Merari clan, were given the following towns with their pasture lands from the tribe of Zebulun: Jokneam, Karta, Dimnah, and Nahalal. 4 towns from the tribe of Reuben. They received the following towns with their pasture lands: Bezer, Jahaz, Kedemoth, and Naphath. 4 towns. From the tribe of Gad, they received the following towns with their pasture lands: Ramoth and Gilead, a city of refuge for those who accidentally killed someone; Mahamim, Heshbon, and Jazer. 4 towns. So in all, 12 towns were allotted to the clan of Merari. The total number of towns and pasture lands within Israel territory given to the Levites came to 48. Every one of these towns had pasture land surrounding it. So the Lord gave to Israel all the lands he had sworn to give their ancestors, and they took possession of it and settled there. And the Lord gave them rest on every side, as he had solemnly promised, just as the Lord had solemnly promised their ancestors. None of their enemies could stand against them, for the Lord had helped them conquer all their enemies. Not a single one of all the good promises the Lord had given to the family of Israel were left unfulfilled. Everything he had spoken came true. Chapter 22. Then Joshua called together the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. He told them, "You have done as Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, and you have obeyed every other order I have given you. During all this time you have not deserted the other tribes. You have been careful to obey the commands of the Lord your God right up to the present day. And now the Lord your God has given the other tribes rest, as he promised them. So go back home to the land that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave as your possession on the east side of the Jordan River. But be very careful to obey all the commands and instructions that Moses gave you. Love the Lord your God, walk in all his ways, obey his commands, hold firmly to him, and serve him with all your heart and all your soul." So Joshua blessed them and sent them away, and they went home. Moses had given the land of Bashan, east of the Jordan River, to the half-tribe of Manasseh. The other half of the tribe was given land west of the Jordan, as Joshua sent them away and blessed them. He said to them, "Go back to your homes and with the great wealth you have taken from your enemies, the vast herds of livestock, the silver, gold, bronze, and iron, and the large supply of clothing. Share the plunder with your relatives." So the men of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh left the rest of Israel at Shelah in the land of Canaan. They started the journey back to their own land of Gilead, to the territory that belonged to them according to the Lord's command through Moses. But while they were still in Canaan, and when they came to a place called Gilead near the Jordan River, the men of Reuben, Gad, and half-tribe of Manasseh stopped to build a large and imposing altar. The rest of Israel heard that the people of Reuben, Gad, and half-tribe of Manasseh had built an altar at Gilead at the edge of the land of Canaan on the west side of the Jordan River. So the whole community of Israel gathered at Shelah and prepared to go to war against them. First, however, they sent a delegation led by Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, to talk to the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. In this delegation were 10 leaders of Israel, one from each of the 10 tribes, and each of the head of his family within the clans of Israel. When they arrived at the land of Gilead, they said to the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half-tribe of Manasseh, "The whole community of the Lord demands to know why you are betraying God, the God of Israel. How could you turn away from the Lord and build an altar for yourselves in rebellion against him? Was our sin at Peor not enough? To this day we are not fully cleansed of it, even after the plague that struck the entire community of the Lord. And yet today you are turning away from following the Lord. If you rebel against the Lord today, he will be angry with all of us tomorrow. If you need the altar because the land you possess is defiled, then join us in the Lord's land where the tabernacle of the Lord is situated, and share our land with us. But do not rebel against the Lord or against us by building an altar other than the one true altar to the Lord our God." Didn't divine anger fall on the entire community of Israel when Achan, a member of the clan of Zerah, sinned by stealing the things set apart for the Lord? He was not the only one who died because of his sin. Then the people of Reuben, Gad, and half-tribe of Manasseh answered the heads of the clans of Israel, "The Lord, the mighty one, is God. The Lord, the mighty one, is God. He knows the truth. May Israel know it too. We have not built the altar in treacherous rebellion against the Lord. If we had done so, do not spare our lives this day. If we had built an altar for ourselves to turn away from the Lord, or to offer burnt offerings or gain offerings or peace offerings, may the Lord himself punish us. The truth is, we have built this altar because we fear that in the future our descendants will say to ours, what right do you have to worship the Lord, the God of Israel? The Lord has placed the Jordan River as a barrier between our people and you, people of Reuben and Gad. You have no claim to the Lord, so your descendants may prevent our descendants from worshiping the Lord." So we decided to build an altar not for burnt offerings or sacrifices, but as a memorial. It would remind our descendants and your descendants that we too have the right to worship the Lord at his sanctuary with our burnt offerings, sacrifices, and peace offerings. Then your descendants will be able to say to ours, "You have no claim to the Lord." If they say this, our descendants can reply, "Look at this copy of the Lord's altar that our ancestors made. It is not for burnt offerings or sacrifices. It is a reminder of the relationship between both of us have with the Lord. Far be it from us to rebel against the Lord or turn away from him by building our own altar for burnt offerings, grain offerings, or sacrifices. Only the altar of the Lord our God that stands in front of the tabernacle may be used for this purpose." When Phinehas the priest and the leaders of the community, the heads of the clans of Israel, heard this from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half-tribe of Manasseh, they were satisfied. Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, replied to them, "Today we know the Lord is among us because you have not committed this treachery, against the Lord as we thought. Instead, you have rescued Israel from being destroyed by the hand of the Lord." Then Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, and the other leaders left the tribe of Reuben and Gad in Gilead and returned to the land of Canaan to tell the Israelites that what had happened. And all the Israelites were satisfied and praised God and spoke no more of a war against Reuben and Gad. The people of Reuben and Gad named the altar Witness, for they said, "It was a witness between us and them that the Lord is our God too." Chapter 23. The years passed, the Lord had given the people of Israel rest from all their enemies. Joshua, who was now very old, called together all the elders, leaders, judges, and officials of Israel. He said to them, "I am now a very old man. You have seen everything the Lord your God has done for you during my lifetime. The Lord your God has fought for you against your enemies. I have allotted to you as your homeland all the land of the nations yet unconquered, as well as the land of those we have already conquered, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. This land will be yours, for the Lord your God himself drive out those people living there now. You will take possession of their land just as the Lord your God promised you. So be very careful to follow everything Moses wrote in the book of instruction. Do not deviate from it, turning either to the right or to the left. Make sure you do not associate with the other peoples still remaining in the land. Do not even mention the names of their gods, much less swear by their or serve with them or worship them. Rather, cling tightly to the Lord your God as you have done until now. For the Lord has driven out great and powerful nations for you, and no one has yet been able to defeat you. Each one of you will put to flight 1,000 of the enemy, for the Lord your God fights for you, just as he has promised. So be very careful to love the Lord your God. But if you turn away from him and cling to the customs of the survivors of these nations remaining among you, and if you intermarry with them, then know for certain that the Lord your God will no longer drive them out of your land. Instead, they will be a snare and a trap to you, a whip to your backs, and a thorny brambles in your eyes, and you will vanish from this good land the Lord your God has given you. Soon I will die, going the way of everything on earth. Deep in your hearts you know that every promise of the Lord your God has come true. Not a single one has failed. But as surely as the Lord your God has given you the good things he promised, he will also bring disaster on you if you disobey him. He will completely destroy you from his good land he has given you. If you break the covenant of the Lord your God by worshiping and serving other gods, his anger will burn against you, and you will quickly vanish from the good land he has given you. Chapter 24. Last chapter, guys. Then Joshua summoned all the tribes of Israel to Shemech, including their elders, leaders, judges, and officials. So they came to the presence and presented themselves to God. Joshua said to the people, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Long ago, your ancestors, including Terah, the father of Abraham and Nahor, lived beyond the Euphrates River, and they worshipped other gods. But I took your ancestor Abraham from the land beyond the Euphrates and led him into the land of Canaan. I gave him many descendants through his son Isaac. To Isaac I gave Jacob and Esau. To Esau I gave the mountains of Seir, while Jacob and his children went down into Egypt. Then I sent Moses and Aaron, and I brought terrible plagues on Egypt. Afterwards I brought you out as free people. But when your ancestors arrived at the Red Sea, the Egyptians chased after you with chariots and charioteers. When your ancestors cried out to the Lord, I put darkness between you and the Egyptians. I brought the sea crashing down on the Egyptians, drowning them with your very own eyes. You saw what I did. Then you lived in the wilderness for many years. Finally, I brought you into the land of the Amorites on the east side of the Jordan. They fought against you, but I destroyed them before you. I gave you victory over them, and you took possession of their land. Then Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab, started a war against Israel. He summoned Balaam, son of Beor, to curse you, but I would not listen to him. Instead, I made Balaam bless you, and so I rescued you from Balak. When you crossed the Jordan River and came to Jericho, the men of Jericho fought against you, as did the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. But I gave you victory over them, and I sent terror ahead of you to drive out the 2 kings of the Amorites. It was not your swords or bows and that brought you victory. I gave you land that you had not worked on, and I gave you towns you did not build. The towns where you are now living, I gave you vineyards and olive groves for food, though you did not plant them. So fear the Lord and serve him wholeheartedly. Put away forever the idols your ancestors worshipped when they lived beyond the Euphrates River. And in Egypt, serve the Lord alone. If you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose today whom you will serve. Would you prefer the gods of your ancestors serve beyond the Euphrates, or will it be the gods of the Amorites in which land you now live? But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord." The people replied, "We would never abandon the Lord and serve other gods. For the Lord our God is the one who rescued us and our ancestors from slavery in the land of Egypt. He performed mighty miracles before our very eyes, as we traveled through the wilderness among our enemies. He preserved us. It was the Lord who drove out the Amorites and the other nations living here in the land. So we too will serve the Lord, for he alone is our God." Then Joshua warned the people, "You are not able to serve the Lord, for he is a holy and jealous God. He will not forgive your rebellion and your sins. If you abandon the Lord and serve other gods, he will turn against you and destroy you, even though he has been so good to you." But the people answered Joshua, "No, we will serve the Lord." "You are witnesses to your own decision," Joshua said. "You have chosen to serve the Lord." "Yes," they replied, "we are witnesses to what we have said." "All right then," Joshua said, "destroy the idols among you and turn your hearts to the Lord, the God of Israel." The people said to Joshua, "We will serve the Lord our God. We will obey him alone." So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day at Shemech, committing them to follow the decrees and regulations of the Lord. Joshua recorded these things in the book of God's instructions as a reminder of their agreement. He took a huge stone and rolled it beneath the terebinth tree beside the tabernacle of the Lord. Joshua said to the people, "This stone has heard everything the Lord said to us. It will be the witness to testify against you if you go back on your word to God." Then Joshua sent all the people away to their own homelands. After this, Joshua son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at age 110. They buried him in the land he had been located at Timnath-Serah in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gaash. The people of Israel served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and the people and of the elders who outlived him, those who had personally experienced all that the Lord had done for Israel. The bones of Joseph, which the Israelites had brought along with them when they left Egypt, were buried at Shechem in the parcel of the ground Jacob had bought from the sons of Hamor for 100 pieces of silver. This land was located in the territory allotted to the descendants of Joseph. Eleazar, son of Aaron, also died. He was buried in the hill country of Ephraim in the town of Gibeah, which had been given to his son Phinehas. Okay, guys, we just finished this. We just did the entire book of Joshua, and I believe around 10 to 12 days. I do not know for sure. But yeah, 24 chapters, we did it. So we did chapters 21, 22, 23, and 24 today. So let's kind of do a quick overview of basically what they did in this. So first of all, they basically, in chapter 21, they're basically again dividing the lands like they have been before. They were always dividing land. They were always setting it apart for everyone and everything. So this is where they finally divide every single piece of land. So they already have all the tribes' land, and then now they're giving the towns that are given to the Levites. Because the Levites did not get an allotment of land, they were given towns instead of land. So they basically separate all the towns. I believe it is 40 something towns. The total number of towns and pasture lands within the Israelite territory given to the Levites came to 48. Every one of these towns and pasture lands had pasture land surrounding it. So these Levites had pretty good towns because they not only had the town that they didn't have to construct, they didn't have to make, but they also had the pasture lands around them, because if they had herds of sheep or things like that, which was very good, I guess, real estate, you could say, at that time. So then as we go on to chapter 22, so another thing I liked in chapter 21 is the Lord gave to Israel all the land he had sworn to give to the ancestors, and they took possession of it and settled there. As the Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he solemnly promised their ancestors. None of their enemies could stand against them, for the Lord helped them conquer all their enemies. So that first verse that I read is the picture of the day, basically. And I just liked how it said, and that, like, now everything's done, they settled there, they were on ease on every side, they didn't have to worry about anything, basically. Like, they had the life right now. They were just calm, collected, did their daily work, and that was it. So, no more wars, no nothing. So now, in chapter 22, they go on to basically, they start talking about, so basically Joshua calls the other tribes that were on the other side of the Jordan River, which is the half-tribe of Messiah, Gad, and Reuben. So they come, and he basically gives them a warning. He's like, so he says, this is what he says to them. I gotta find it. You have done as Moses, the servant of the Lord, has commanded you, and you have obeyed every order I have given you. During all this time you have not deserted the other tribes. You have been careful to obey them, or the commands of the Lord your God, right up to the present day. And now the Lord your God has given the other tribes rest, as he promised them. So go back to your home, to the land that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave to you as possession on the east side of the Jordan River. But be very careful to obey all the commands and instructions that Moses gave to you. Love the Lord your God, walk in all his ways, obey his commands, hold firmly to him, and serve him with all your heart and all your soul. So now, he's basically saying, like, okay, I know you guys were already done, and you were at peace, and you had all your land, and, everything was good for you guys. But now, everybody else is finally done too. So, now it's like, okay, now go back home and just make sure you're following the rules, basically. Make sure you're doing everything that Moses commanded, everything that God's commanded. And as they go back, they make this altar. And when people start hearing about this altar, they're thinking that Reuben and them are they're basically traitors. They're committing treason against God because they made their own altar and they wanted their own sacrifices. Like, this is what the people are thinking. So they're getting ready to go to war because they gave them, I believe they called it the half-tribe Messiah in this delegation. So they gave them a delegation, which basically had all the 10 leaders of the tribes, and then each of the the head of the family clans, basically. So, they have this delegation, and they're basically just sending back and forth notes, and they're like, well, if you're gonna do this, and we have to go to war. Like, this is against God. You're not gonna be in our country, you could say, if you have this altar. And then they say, well, this altar is not for sacrifices or anything. It is acting as a monument or a witness, so that when we die and we have the generations after us, then they will not be denied their right to serve the Lord, because this monument will be there for them to know that they can serve the Lord. And so the people are like, okay, so now we understand. and that's actually pretty good because now they know, like, so it just saves the tribe basically. It just saves the land. So yeah, so then that happens, and then in chapter 23, this is basically like Joshua's final willing testament, basically. Like, this is just his warning before he dies, and this is his final statement. And he gathers everyone, and he's just basically telling them, he's like, be very careful, because just because follow everything that the Lord is saying. Do not go away from him. Don't turn away from him. Just, go on him. Stay in his word, stay good. And he's like, just telling them that he's gonna die soon, so like, this is what you have to do. And then, so don't turn away from him, always cling tightly, and be careful not to get tempted by the people living among you in the other countries and the survivors, because if you marry them or you start worshiping their gods, then God is gonna basically have no mercy on you, and he's just gonna, he's gonna like cut the tree down. Like, he made this giant country, but if they end up going against what he wants, then he can just like take them away in a snap. So then he says that, and everybody and then in chapter 24, so Joshua's like, again, he's warning the people too, but this is basically like, it's his final word, but this is his final word, but the part 2, you could say, where he's talking to the people, and he's giving them basically an overview of what's happened, like all the way from Abraham, and it's going down, and then the people get to Egypt, and they have all the ancestors, and the Lord takes them out in the Red Sea, and living in the wilderness, and then getting to the land and taking all the people out. It's just, basically from Exodus all the way to Joshua 24 right now, like to the present day in this time. And now he's telling the people and this great verse that I like, verse 15, chapter 24. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose today whom you will serve. Would you prefer the gods of your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or will it be the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now live? But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. So now he's saying, he's like, okay, well, if you're not going to obey the Lord, then who are you going to obey? Are you going to obey all these other guys? But whatever. But as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. We're not going to go away from him. And that's the beauty of it, you could say. And then he tells the people, if they're going to serve him, and they say yes, and, then they renew the covenant between the people and the Lord. And Joshua finally dies at the age of 110, and he gets buried, and everybody gets buried, and then they go on with life, basically, you could say. But the thing that I thought was really cool is he's 110 when he dies, and he's still going strong. He's still preaching. He's still doing everything that he needs to do. But he's 110. Most people, when they're 90, I could say, they will stop moving. Maybe 80, but you know what I mean? They'll just be in a nursing home, and they won't do anything except talk and eat and sleep. But this guy, he's going strong. He's out there. He's roughing it, basically, all the way until his death. And that's that great saying of, you're never too old and you're never too young. That's why I'm doing this too, is to show that you can be in high school or younger than that even, as long as you have some sort of computer smarts, you can get this Bible out there. And that's what this entire mission's all about. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. Bye.